Welcome to the Grazing Grass podcast, sharing stories of grass farmers. On today's episode, we have a different type of episode, but one that is really good. We have Teddy Gentry, Judy. We have Ralph and Jerry Voss, Steve Freeman, and Nathan, I almost forgot your last name, and Nathan Hahn on here. They come on and they're sharing tidbits for you. This is a great episode. We start out with Teddy Gentry talking about the origin of the South Pole breed. The thing that was most curious to me, did you know he wanted to create a different composite breed as well? You'll have to listen and find out more about that. And then we talked to Judy and what South Poles have done for him. And I know you're like, South Poles? Is this episode going to be all about South Poles? This episode was recorded at the South Pole Field Day. Recorded in person. A lot of fun to record it that way. But what I found, a lot of things I had to do differently editing. It took me a lot longer than I thought it would. So you'll notice there's some audio in there that could be better. But still, it's a great episode. And if you're a person thinking, I don't want to hear about South Poles, you want to listen to it. It's really good. Just these people have done a wonderful job sharing their expertise on South Poles as well as other things. But there's things you can take to whatever breed you're working with, to your farm. That'll make a difference. So we have Teddy Gentry. We have Judy. We have Ralph and Jerry Voss. They're talking about their bull program and actually their journey in South Poles, but they're developing bulls too. We talk about Steve Freeman, who's having a tremendous breed back on his herd. And then we finish up with Nathan Hahn, and he is selling a direct to consumer. And we cover a little bit on their journeys about how South Poles fit into it. It was a lot of fun to make this episode, and I hope you really enjoy it because the editing turned into a lot more work than I planned. Calling all ranchers, are you making decisions based upon gut feelings or hard numbers? Noble Research Institute's Business of Grazing course gives you the tools to manage your operation with confidence. Join them in Winter Garden, Florida, November 18th through the 20th for their final course of 2025. But hurry! Registration closes November 11th. In this hands-on course, you'll discover how to calculate gross margins that reveal which ventures deserve more resources and which are holding you back. You'll analyze real-life case studies on water and fencing investments, so you'll know exactly what pencils out. And you'll walk away with detailed grazing plans that turn strategy into daily action. Noble Research Institute ensures every insight has been tested in real-world conditions by ranch managers and researchers, giving you solutions that actually work on the ground. Registration closes November 11th, so hurry and visit noble.org today to secure your spot. For 10 seconds about the farm and podcasts, we're going to talk about this episode just a little bit more. The way it's structured, I have the short conversation with Teddy Gentry, followed by a short conversation with Judy. I'm just putting those in line without a lot of editing or coming in and providing commentary between them. I hope it works for you. Let me know what you think. And with that, let's talk to Teddy. To get started today, can you just introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about your operation?
My name's Teddy Gentry. I'm the owner of Gentry Farms in Fort Payne, Alabama. And we're the originator of the South Pole breed. We started working on putting the breed together in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. And that's kind of who I am and what I'm doing here today.
Good. So why did you, in the 80s, why did you decide we needed different cattle?
Well, a friend of mine came through from New Zealand and and showed me. His name's Leith Pemberton, and he got me started thinking about grasses instead of cattle. And so at that point, I started with Hereford cows, and once I started on rotational grazing, I realized that these Herefords, they don't like being locked out here on 90-degree heat. They stand over there panting in the corner, trying to go back to the trees or try to get in the pond. So I realized, and then I started looking around what was available, and I said, well, you got your Brahma crosses, from everything from, Brayford and Brangus and, Beefmaster on down, to Santa Gertrudis, whatever other breeds that were heat tolerant for the South, all went back to the Brahma. But I started looking at the university studies on tenderness over the years, and every time Brahma came into the picture, the toughness issue went way up on the on the Warner Bradford shear. For the Warner Bradford machine, they invented it. Basically, it's two knife blades that they measure it's like a bathroom scale that measures the amount of force it takes to cut through a piece of meat.
Yes.
And the more force it takes to cut through there, the tougher it is, of course. But after looking at all that, I'm in my wife was at a supper table one night, and I said, we don't have the tools to do what we need to do here in the South to produce a tender piece of meat and still have cattle that we use in a mob grazing or a rotational grazing system. Or regenerative grazing, or what they call it now. It's moving the cows every day, or so at a set period of time in order to take care of your grasses in your soil and protect your soil. Now it all works hand in hand. But anyway, it started me on a journey. I wasn't raised around cattle. I didn't know anything about cattle, so it was at that point I said, well, I need to study my lesson. So I did over about the next 3 or 4 years. As Alabama was traveling, on the bus, I'd get in the back lounge and spread all my beef magazines out. Any papers I could, that university, I had some professors at the university would send me different studies they would do. And I was always going out and visiting old cattlemen. If it was in a city and I looked up, who was around there, where it was Roy Beebe, Red Angus, and Frank Felton with Hereford, wherever it was, I'd go out and visit with them and I try to pick their brain and spend the day, learning from them. So after about 3 years, I was introduced to the Centipole breed from the Virgin Islands by Roy Beebe from Oklahoma. I was there. I was looking at Red Angus cows. And he said, "Have you ever heard of the Centipole breed?" I said, "No." And he said, "Well, they plants and stuff at forbs that my Red Angus won't even touch." And so he took me out back and showed me some of them, and I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. And I was looking for something that would slick hair anyway. In the Centipole, there's a pretty high percentage of the Centipole breed from the Virgin Islands that's homozygous for the Centipole, for the slick hair gene, which means they won't even grow hair in the wintertime.
Oh, yeah.
And if you breed them to a hairy animal, then they will slick in one generation.
Oh, yes.
So Red Angus was our weakest link. They didn't like the fescue grass, because it was toxic to them, and they had too much hair.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I couldn't find slick-haired Red Angus or slick-haired Herefords. But so when I found the Centipole, they were a big piece to go with, pull all the hair off the Red Angus. I wanted to use Red Angus and one of the red animals instead of a black animal because black absorbs the heat and red reflects the heat. So anyway, I wanted to wind up with a light-colored red animal if I could, and that's what the South Pole, hopefully, that's what we've done. But anyway, the next introduction was to the Barzana breed by Frank Felton up in Maryville, Missouri. Frank, I was looking at Herefords one day, and the same thing. He said, "Have you ever heard Barzana?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I got some Barzana Hereford crosses here. I've crossed them," and said, "It's my ideal kind of commercial cat."
Oh, yes.
So I went out and looked at it, and I thought, wow, this is neat. So that wound up being over about a 4-year period. I finally decided on the 4 breeds I wanted to put together, which was Barzana on Herefords, Centipole on Red Angus, or Red Angus on Centipole, and we went both ways on all the breeds.
Oh, okay.
From using the Centipole bull and Centipole cows with the Red Angus, and vice versa. But anyway, the first ones that we had hit the ground were in the early 90s. And they were, of course, as I studied my lesson, I realized that we had nothing but a hybrid.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have any genetic concentration enough to have any likeness on them all.
Right.
And they were as good as you could get at that point, from heterosis standpoint. The first four-way crosses were, I mean, they were good, but they were too big.
Oh, yeah.
We had 1,500 cows. And so then it became, over the next few years, it was selecting the smaller cows that were,
Oh, okay.
and then line breeding to those cows and getting our frame score down, so that we wanted to, our ideal was a frame 2 to 3 animal, which was way under what the norm of the industry was at the time. The industry was looking at 6 and 7 and 8 frame animals, huge animals. And that's one thing I realized as I started this breed. I thought, well, all the data that I could gather and look at, integrated resource management was one of the places I went to look at research. They did research on thousands of commercial cows. And so the first thing that hit me was the larger the cow was, the more inefficient she was at breeding back. She was later breeding back, and so I said, well, that 1,000-pound cow, looks like it weans 450 to 500 pounds of calf every year and does it year after year within that same window, every month, every year, that holds less than a 365-day calving interval. Those are the cows I want to stack in my pedigree.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the most, they're the most efficient cow out there. And the two things that make the commercial cattleman real money, number one and number two, is fertility and longevity.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I mean, above anything else, people get hung up on ribeye size and marbling and all this kind of stuff, and EPDs and growth and all that, which has nothing to do with a damn cow going out here and eating grass.
Right.
And making a living off of grass or hay and doing it all year long. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to bring the efficiency to the cattle business and have an adapted animal that would, in the South, that would go out here and you could lock on out on a pasture at 90 to 100 degrees and them still not be suffering. And we breed. We turn bulls out 4th of July every year. And that's, July is our hottest month.
Yes.
And they have to go out there and breed, and the cows have to be cycling, But to do that, it's really it was a labor of love. We had some rough spots to get through. Anything that's worth building, I guess, it's not smooth sailing all the way. I mean,
right.
A lot of people look now and say, wow, great cows, and got them the right size and right shape. But it didn't come overnight. I mean, there was a lot of culling process that we had lost a lot of cattle. Like I said, it was just too big.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so after we got through heterosis and we started getting it down so that you started line breeding to the best cows, and that's what we try to do now. Is I try to take those cows that never miss and live to be 12, 15 years old and give you a calf every year and have never had any health problems. I mean, that's the ideal cow.
Oh, yeah.
Never had to pull a calf out of. You're the least. You got to fool with the cows. I mean, you ain't got time to go out there and baby every cow every day, and milk out bad teats, that kind of thing. So the first thing on our agenda was good udders.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, I was a nut for good small teats and good udders on building this breed. Because why? Because it don't matter. If an udder goes out on a cow, she's gone.
She's gone. Exactly.
No matter if she's 2 or 10, if she's got a bad udder, she's gone. You ain't got time to be milking out, individual cows, or either you're going to lose your domestitis or, whatever, But so we had to look at the economic trade and say, well, first of all, a cow's udder's got to last longer than she does.
Yes. Yeah.
And that sounds pretty simple, but in reality,
there's a lot of simple principles here. The key is following them.
Yeah, well, we're a simple breed. When I started out, I tried to learn from the other mistakes I saw in other breeds, and right off the bat, I mean, not against anything against the show ring. I mean, a lot of people enjoy it, but doesn't relate to me making a living with cows out here in the pasture. And so that's the first thing I said is that it's a waste of our time. So let's just have in our bylaws that we don't show these cattle in competition in a show ring, because it tells you nothing. You got a picture of a cow's all you got.
Right.
It's a beauty contest.
Right.
Give me records on 20 years and I'll tell you which cows are the best.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we've tried to build the breed on, is facts and no BS, just straight ahead facts and data of what makes money, and the cows that in there that give you a calf every year with no excuses on where it's a dry year or a wet year, or, whatever. These cows have to come through and they have to work, and I call them the blue-collar cow breed.
The blue-collar cow breed. I like that, yeah.
Because, they're out here making a living day and night, 365 days a year off of what's available to them, and that changes all the time.
Oh, yeah, it does.
So they have to be adapted enough to be able to do that, and your smaller cows are always the ones that adapted to the nutritional level best. They can do without the ice cream grass and still breed back.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe that 1,500-pound cow, she's got to have everything perfect, for her to cycle and breed back. And then you're not getting, maybe 550, 600-pound calf out of a 1,500-pound cow. But still, don't pencil out at the end of the year. What I'm saying is that her expenses. I tell people, you take two 1,500-pound cows, and I'll take 3,000-pound cows, and I'll make money all day long.
Oh, yes.
That's the same philosophy. Don't matter where you got 1,000 head or for 10 head,
Right. Yeah. One thing, when I was introduced to South Pole, and I came to the first field day I attended was in Tennessee, and first time I'd seen South Poles in person. And I was just shocked by how calm they were with all these strangers around, which I think so great. But the other thing that surprised me was the uniformity of them, which you mentioned the line breeding, because to get that uniformity in a breed, in a herd, you got to do some line breeding so you're getting homozygous genes in there, so you have that. When you were going through that process and line breeding them to what you want, at what point did you decide, hey, I've got a cow that's really working for me?
Well, I think, just from immediately the cattle were adapted. Even the ones that were hybrids, the first crosses, they were adapted and they did a good job, but they were just too big. So then it was a matter of continuing to pick out the cattle that were the ideal size going forward. And then as the years went by, those cows that didn't miss were the ones, smaller end of the cows that didn't miss is the ones that I always brought back, used bulls out of and incorporated back into the breed. But uniformity, and then, but like I said earlier, gentleness is a requirement. I tell people, I don't care how you get a South Pole you got, if she throws her head up when you walk in the pen, get rid of her.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't have any spot for those cows like that. Our whole system is set up so one guy can move his herd every day by himself, without having to have a bunch of dogs and horses and whips and all this kind of stuff. It's a simple, I go back to, I call it the KISS system, keep it simple, stupid. But it's not a complicated, we try to complicate our cattle industry by throwing in a lot of John Doe talk about EPDs and carcass data and marbling and ribeye size and all this. But in reality, the bigger ribeye size you got, the more maintenance you got in that cow. So it's a detriment to big ribeye sizes as well as excess marbling. If excess marbling, if marbling is all we want, we'll be looking like Wagyu and Jersey.
Yes.
Instead of having any meat to us at all. But we want a good piece of tender meat, but again, we don't want to have to pay $10,000 to get it. It has to be. But I couldn't be prouder of the breed. The further we go, the better they fit for what we're doing. The more people realize that this is a real deal. There's no smoke and mirrors here trying to sell somebody a pig in the poke. I tell people, I said, don't buy cattle without records.
Oh, yeah.
If you go to a guy's farm, he ain't got no records on his, that's it, just leave. Go someplace else that's got records, because records will eventually control what we breed and how we breed it going forward.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be for one reason, or be for two reasons, for fertility and longevity. Those two will remain at the top. I've been on that stump preaching it for about 25, 30 years now, and the story doesn't change. Those are still the traits, and the commercial cattle market will make you money. And
when you talk about records, are you just keeping track of their calving dates, or are you thinking more records beyond that? Well,
over the years on the South Pole, we did about as much research and data-driven stuff off of our farm there in Northeast Alabama. We developed the ultrasound program that's used to determine, to give you an indication of tenderness now.
Oh, yes.
We developed all that program out there on our farm using real data. But, research is only good if you can apply it to the real. I mean, it's got to fit in with the fertility and longevity. I keep going back to that, but that's the whole base of everything I tried to build the South Pole breed on. It's not just a pretty breed, not just a pretty cow, but the records will tell you that this cow, she's 6 years old and she's nursing her fifth calf. Her mother lived to be 18 and give us 17 calves. Yeah. Now, if you got that data in there, the odds are that you're going to get what you put in.
Right. Yes.
And that's what I tell people. If you keep good records, I can come to your farm every 10 years and pick out the very ice cream out of your herd.
Oh, yeah.
Take me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Took you 20 years to get it, but it take me 5 minutes to analyze that and say, well, these 3 cows here in the pedigree, they've never missed. And that's what I want. That's the reason I'm breeding.
Oh, yeah.
So I want a bull out of that calf.
Right. Yeah.
That's out of that cow, that's out of that cow. And I feel like that my odds increase then, and not buying that bull because of his size, but because of his ancestry. Pretty simple formula, but I mean, I tell people, all you got to do is just keep good records, and everything else will float at the top.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When you think about the South Pole Association and the field days going on, where do you see South Pole going?
I really expect the South Pole will really take over the South in the next few years. After I'm dead and gone, they're going to be around a lot longer than me because they fill a real niche. They're real. What we need to do is just safeguard. As a breed gets popular, it's very easy for people to leave that steer a bull.
Oh, it is. You're exactly
you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And because he's worth $4,000 as a bull and $2,000 as a steer. So, but we can't take shortcuts. If there's an issue out there, let's get rid of it, because it's the only way for us to continue to improve the breed instead of just Mongolize the breed going forward.
Oh, right.
Is that if we pick out the right animals for the right reason, then the reasons I've already talked about, the fertility, stacking those cows that have never missed in a pedigree. If you got 3, the mother, the grandma, and the great-grandma of those cows that have never missed and have lived to be 12, 15 years old, then I feel it's like an insurance policy in my genetic. Is that odds are that I'm going to get what from that bull out of her. If especially if his mother, then on the sire, if his mother on both sides are like that, then you're making progress. Then you're really unifying your genetics as a breed, and you're also stamping that uniformity, like you talked about going forward. Yeah. So I want peas in a pod.
Oh yeah.
We don't need 1,500 pound cows in the South Pole breed. Get rid of them.
Right. Yeah. There's so much that if you can predict what that calf is going to look like, what that cow can do, and that goes back to that uniformity and that line breeding, making sure those genetics are there. You mentioned go ahead.
Good Lord bless us on some things that we didn't even know we was going to get.
Oh yeah.
And that like with the South Pole, it starts out with birth weight on having small calves. If you can't have a small calf and you're a commercial guy, then you're going to work yourself to death and lose a lot of animals by the end of the year if you're having big calves. So we said we got to have small calves. So we started putting the pressure on South Pole early, but it was very easy because the Barzona breed was built off of. They're out there in the wild. If they can't have a calf, they die.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's out there to pull a calf.
Yeah.
So, every calf they brought in was they had to have it on their own. And so our South Pole, we typically average from 50 to 60 pounds on calves. And, but with the size cows we got, we're talking about 1,000-pound cow.
Right.
Mature cow. So our heifers are weighing, 750, 800 pounds when they calve. So we got to have small calves. But it's been years since I think our calf puller is rusty. We haven't used it in so long. But
I think it's with Josh. Josh Harris was on the podcast a few weeks ago. And I think it's with him we talked about calf pullers. Years ago when we were running much more the European breeds, we knew right where our calf puller and the calf chain was. If I had to pull a calf today, I think I know where the calf puller is, but I'm not sure, and I like that problem.
Well, I looked at continental breeds. I've owned some continental breeds over the years. In fact, I was at the time I started working on the South Pole. I was also working on a composite meat breed called Carcass King, which I never finished. But anyway,
yes.
But I got into it with Limousine and Romanola, and I was doing the real lean. But yet, no connective tissue issues. I was trying to do that, but I wound up just going all South Pole after a period of time because Continentals, it's hard for them to have enough. A cow needs to be easy fattening, and unless your mama cow is easy fattening, and it's hard to do with your Continental breeds.
Oh yeah,
they're just so lean that But your mama cow going into wintertime, if that's the South Pole. One of our key factors is that cow can get fat off of grass. We got cows out here that are pulling fat on their back off of, that have never had a body grain in their life.
Yeah.
And that going into wintertime, then she don't have to have alfalfa or high octane fuel. She can take average hay and make a living on it. And she may lose, 50 pounds over wintertime, but still not enough to affect her fertility or either her calving, being thrown as a calf, and then milk and get back in the swing. Once she gets good grass, the grass spring flush, then she's off and running again, gaining weight again, raising a big calf, breeding back. These are all simple things, it sounds like, but again, when you get something out of kilter, like size, or they're not adapted to their environment, and then all of a sudden you have 20 or 30% open cows, and that kills you.
Yeah, it does. It does. You're exactly right.
We have breeders, Steve and Judy Freeman. They consistently run over 95% breed up on cows, heifers, their whole herd.
Oh yeah, which is amazing because I would love to be in that position, and I'm not there yet.
Well, you can do it with South Poles, but you got to have two things. You got to have the right breed, which is South Pole, and then you got to have good grass and know how to ice cream grass.
Oh yeah,
and they have some of the best grass, and they are excellent at moving their cattle. But they started with Beefmaster, and they discovered South Pole, and then they've used nothing over the past 12 years. I thought they've used nothing but South Pole.
Yeah,
and so now then. It's amazing what they accomplished with their fertility. But they had 96.8% breed up last year across the board. I challenge anybody, anywhere with any other breeds to even come close to that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And if you're doing that, then weaning weights those things are management issues.
Right.
If you got good enough grass or good enough forage, you can make a big calf. But with South Pole, we have never crep feed. It's a waste of time and a waste of money, because if those cattle can grain off grass, is much cheaper. If they can get the same gain off of grass, in fact, you will run most South Poles, the smaller framed females. If you start feeding them, you get too much fat in the udder. Which affects their milking ability later on.
Yeah.
No different with young bulls. If you get those young bulls too fat, deposits fat in the testicle area, and they won't never reproduce like they would normally. So, folks, let's use common sense out here. We're trying to do that approach with South Pole. We're trying to use common sense with the least amount of inputs, with the most amount to gain out of it for profit.
Yeah.
And to do that, then all we have to do is hold our costs down.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. To wrap up today, because doing really quick, but I've got one more or a couple more questions. First one, someone who's just now discovering South Pole, what would you tell them?
Well, try to get your genetics as close to home as you can. The cattle adaptability is such a important part. If you can, find somebody that runs a similar management to what you're going to do. If you're going rotational graze, find somebody close to you that's rotational grazing, and go in there and also find somebody that keeps records.
Yes.
So you can go in there and look at the records. You don't want to pick a cow that was open last year. She may be, she's got a great big bull calf this year, but she missed last year. You don't want that.
Yes. Took a year off.
Yeah, took a year off. But make sure you look at the records and make sure that the cattle are what they're supposed to be. But then, your eye can deceive you sometimes. Especially when I say look at the records. You can walk out there and see all beautiful, big, if I walk into a herd and there's one cow that stands out, but she's fatter, bigger, maybe she took a year off.
Oh, yeah.
There's issues somewhere,
Yes.
But you want that consistency. You want the cow that's kind of in the middle of the pack, I call them, that maybe not extreme in anywhere. But those are the cattle that give you a calf every year and do it for a long period of time. Those are the money-making cattle. But start with genetics that are close to home, as close as you can get them to you. If you've got a neighbor across the fence that's got cattle, then just move the cattle across the fence. No change, nothing's changing.
Very good. Teddy, we really appreciate you coming on. And I about forgot the last question, but where can others find out more about you and what you're doing?
Well, southpole.com, our website is very active. We've got a couple of ladies that do an incredible job on keeping things up there, and everything from shows that we have, or our sales that are going on. They're starting. One thing about the South Pole, for years we never had a commercial sale where you have an auctioneer and ring man come in and cost you 20% to do a sale.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to do that. These cattle will about sell themselves, and we do it with cowboy auction where, we raise our hand, you see who's bidding against you. You ain't got a big bird bidding against the birds and the rafters and all that kind of stuff, like I've done at some of these purebred sales.
Oh, yeah.
And all of them are not like that. I'm not saying. But,
right.
But and honesty and straightforwardness is what we've built this breed on. And as long as I'm associated with it, that's what we will continue to build it on. Because, if I've got 100 customers out there and I've got 100 satisfied customers, I've done something good.
Oh,
if I've got 100 customers and there's half of them that aren't happy, then I'm going backwards in my approach.
Exactly.
But we try to take care of everybody. We try to make sure that everybody gets a good deal. If there's an issue with an animal, we try to stand behind those animals. Because the little guy, he can't afford to lose, he can't, if he's got 10 cows, and he can't, they got to be, all of them working.
They got to be working.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
So it's important to us that people get started right, and also that clean, good data from reputable breeders that are honest and straightforward. You can't beat that.
You can't.
I can't beat that. It's a place to start. People that will stand behind their product, and if you come up, if a cow's supposed to be bred and she's open, that guy should replace her or either make it right with you.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that. But anyway, as long as we're associated with this breed, it's going to be a blue-collar cattle breed, and we hope that these cattle are bred for one reason, go out there and make you a profit.
Wonderful, yeah. Teddy, really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you very much. It's always honor and a privilege to talk about cows with people out there, and that's the reason we're here again this is our 17th year, I think.
Yes, yeah. Bruce was telling me he's been to all of them.
Yeah, and Greg Judy was talking to you a while ago. The first one was held at Greg's place.
Oh, yes.
And we had some cows get out, and Greg, I thought we was going to lose him. He was up and down those hills, and it was about 95 degrees that day. He moaned that he didn't have a heat stroke. He was so hot when he came back in. We had to put an ice pack on him and everything.
Yes.
And, he was in bad shape. But I told him, I said, let's let them cows go.
Well, yeah.
We lose a cow, we can't lose Greg Judy.
Right. Exactly. To get started today, can you introduce yourself and a little bit about your operation?
Yeah, so I'm Greg Judy. My wife, Janet, and I, we run a grazing operation 20 miles north of Columbia, which is north central Missouri. We're in the rolling hills, just, you might say, the start of the Ozarks, competing with row crop land. It's pretty much grazing type land. And Jan and I, many years ago, got started in this journey. We were leasing land and custom grazing other people's cattle. And the way I'm giving you the history of how we got into the South Pole breed was we were grazing commercial, just whatever you got to sell more, and people would bring us cattle. And every single group that we brought in, it seemed like we had to supplement them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had to give them breeder cubes or, range pellets to get the cows in condition where they would breed. And even then, they wouldn't breed. A lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
They're so big. And we got a rainstorm. Both of us, we couldn't sleep at night because we knew what they were doing to our pastures. 1,500 pound cows. And snotty, all the cows would try and kill you in cabin season.
Yeah.
Literally, they would. And I'm like, why do you keep a cow that tries to kill you? Well, it gives me a good calf. Yeah, but it's going to kill you. And
right.
So fast forward, we got invited to Teddy Gentry's farm. This was in 2002, 2003 timeframe. And we'd never heard of the South Pole breed, but we got invited to go down there. Teddy was holding a nationwide grass meeting.
Oh, okay.
And because I'd written my first book, No Risk Ranching,
Right.
They knew I was on Ledger. They invited us. So anyway, we got there and I saw these cattle. What in the world are those? Slick-hided, just beautiful animals on grass. I'm like, Teddy must be feeding these things great.
Oh, yeah.
To keep them in that kind of shape. And Alabama's fescue heat and humidity more than we have.
Oh, yeah.
And these cattle were just slick and shiny. And the ones we had back in Missouri were long and hairy because we'd already started to herd our hairy-looking Red Angus, nasty. You couldn't go around them in their cabin. They got thin. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to ever be able to quit my town job. It just
Oh, yeah.
going to happen because them hairy cows are not going to be able to support me. And so anyway, long story short, Teddy sold us 22 pairs. And we brought those home. We've never looked back. Today we're at 340, something like that. That's total. And I was able to quit my job in 2009. But folks, here's the deal. Every day you have to go out there and feed a cow, you're working for it. When the cow can feed themselves and stay fat on grass and give you a calf, they're working for you.
Right. Get that cow working for you and you not working for them. Yeah.
And the docility of these animals. We have a lot of farm tours. We have people that come in. We hosted the grass-fed exchange. 300 people walked through our cow herd.
Oh, yeah.
Bowls and everything. And nothing even raised its head up and looked at them.
Oh, yeah. And I've had the opportunity to go to grazing school up there. And, yeah, the cows are so docile.
Yeah.
First time I came to a South Pole field day, that's just the thing that shocked me most of all. Is first time I'd seen South Poles, I was like, all these strangers are here, and the cows don't care.
Yeah.
It's just they went around their business.
That's right. And I think if you have, there's going to be bad ones in all breeds. And that's why I call myself the predator. I'm the predator in my herd. If a cow gives me a reason for her to leave our farm, she's gone.
Yeah.
I don't give them a second chance. And folks, you've got to set your calling really hard. Your calling bar. If an animal doesn't perform and give you a good calf, if she has a bad udder or a bad feet, you got to get rid of those cows.
Oh, yeah.
And move forward.
Yes. Now, you talked about you picked up 22 pairs from Teddy.
Yep.
And you brought them in. I'm assuming they outperformed your other cows there. So what was your process? Did you go buy more cows? Did you just bring in South Poles? Did you take those 22 and just breed, just continue to grow that herd?
Great question. So what we did is we immediately sold off those hairy ones.
Oh, yes.
The little hairy red egg. We got rid of them stinking things. Couldn't wait for them to go on a trailer and leave. And one of them chased me, just trying to get her on the trailer.
Oh, yes. That made it much easier to load her.
Much easier to get rid of that one. And so we went back to Teddy like a year later, and we bought 30 bred heifers.
Oh, yes.
Brought those in. And then we got some from Ralph and Jerry Voss. Ralph and Jerry got their start from us.
Yes.
Well, let me back up. They had found out about South Poles from us. They came to buy those hairy heifers.
Oh, yes.
And Jerry, the wife, she locked onto our South Pole because they were all mixed together. She goes, "What are those?" I'm like, "Jerry, don't look at those." And she couldn't. She just couldn't. She said, "If you sell me one of those heifers, we'll buy all those hairy." I said, "No, I'm going to sell you one of them." I said, "Here's Teddy Gentry's phone number."
Yes.
At our kitchen table. And they called Teddy on Sunday. They drove to Alabama on Thursday and had their first herd.
Oh, yes.
So Ralph and Jerry have a beautiful herd of South Pole. They're at Lynn, Missouri. And, but yeah, we got that start from Jerry and like we bought 20 some heifers from them.
Oh,
and that's it. That's it. We've bred internally from that.
Oh, yes.
So we've kept our heifers. We sell it, some of the older cows, and it's been good for us. I mean, when you can run a breed of cattle that can take care of themselves and stay fat on grass.
Oh, yes.
And they winter well. Everybody goes, "Well, Greg, but they're only 1,000 pounds. What do you don't have a 1,500 pound cow. You don't have as big a calf to sell in the fall." Yeah, that's right. I don't. I like that. I like selling a 450 pound calf versus the bigger cows will give you a 650 pound wean calf.
Right.
Well, I can raise one more calf than the guy's running 1,500 pound.
Oh, yeah.
So 3 1,000 pound cows eat the same amount of grass as 2 1,500 pound cows. I got an extra calf to sell in the fall.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to bring more per pound. A 450 pound calf always brings more dollars per pound than a 600.
Oh, it does. Right.
Every time.
Yeah.
So I got one more to sell. I get more per pound. And for every 2%, for every 100 pounds you increase your cow weight over 1,000, you lose 2% fertility across your whole herd. So if you're running 1,500 pound cows, 10% of your cows are not going to breed back just because you got them too big.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which we've experienced that, years ago when we were trying to breed bigger cows. That's the reason we decided we had to go a different path.
Yep.
Was we couldn't get animals rebred. We couldn't get heifers to calve at 24 months.
Yep.
Yeah. So are you calving heifers at 24 months?
Yep.
And I know now, I think you raise your own bulls.
We do.
When you started, did you bring in some bulls, or did you start by raising some out of those?
Yeah, so we bought a bull from Teddy, then I bought another one from Martin Turner up in North Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
That was the starting of our herd. And once we got our numbers big enough, we started generating a lot of bulls. Ian Michelinas from South Africa. He's really done a lot for us. Ian helps us with grading school. Well, you've been there.
Yes.
And Ian says, "Great. What are you going buying all these bulls for? Look at those bulls you got in your herd out."
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, but Ian, their moms are out there." He said, So you're telling me in nature a white-tailed buck doesn't breed his daughter? I'm like, "Well, he probably does, doesn't he?" "Well, yeah." So Ian turns in 700 bulls.
Oh.
700 bulls with 4,000 cows. He's got
wow.
a big herd.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Ian, what are you doing that for? Why don't you pick out the best 200? He said, "No." He said, "Let nature sort it out." So the bull that has the highest testosterone, highest sperm count, he's the one that settles the cow.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happens in nature.
Yeah.
And so we did that for a few years, and now we're back to, we turn in about 6
Oh, yes.
to about 6 to 7 bulls to 200 cows.
When you were turning in a lot of bulls in there, did you feel like once, I don't know that you did, you could tell which bull bred them at the end?
No.
I was just wondering if you could figure out what factors contributed to that. But
The one thing I did like it was kind of cool having 50 bulls in there.
oh, yeah.
But here's the deal. When you got a heifer in there that's in heat, she's not smart enough to lay down.
Oh, yeah.
And she gets overbred. And
Oh, yes.
you can actually puncture,
Yeah.
the reproductive area back there. And we lost one doing that.
Oh, yes.
She just wouldn't lay down. The old cow, they just lay down.
Oh, yeah.
Get out of here. But the young one will just keep running.
Oh,
And so she gets
yes.
overbred. And so that's why we went back to 6 to 7 bulls. We've never had any problems since.
Oh, yeah. When you pick out your bulls, do you keep them multiple years or are they just used for one breeding
1
season?
year. 1 year. Now, the second year we sell them. We'll keep them through the winter, and then we sell them as what we call our macho.
Oh, yes.
As a 3-year-old, they look,
Oh, yeah.
and you get more money.
Yeah.
They're in their prime.
Yeah.
2 to 3-year-old bulls, they're in their prime. And Ian really got honest about keeping bulls past 4.
Oh, yes.
He's like, "Greg, all they do is go down in value." He said, if they're a good bull, they've got to, they're as good as they are.
Oh,
Sell
yeah,
the-
they should. Yeah.
Yeah, sell the bull.
Yeah.
Why are you taking the depreciation on that bull? I'm like, "Well, I like looking at him."
Oh,
You know,
right.
We all like a good-looking bull.
Yeah, we
You know?
do. Yeah.
I had one called Big Red, and I like that bull. He goes, "Big Red needs to be sold. Take the money and go buy some more cows." And I'm like, "But Ian, I like that bull. I've never raised another one as good as him." And that's when he told me, "So, well, he's not a good bull unless he's got a son in there as good as he is."
Right. Because your calves you're raising this year should be the best calves you ever raised.
Exactly. Each
Yeah.
generation should be better than the one before, and they're more
Right.
adapted to your farm.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, we love the South Pole breed. I mean, it's been good for us, and we've got a really strong market. Do the YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel where we talk about the South Pole. People get to see them every day, and it's been good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And with your herd and South Pole, they've really helped you. What would you say to someone who's just now discovering South Pole?
Yeah, I would say they can be pricey when you find them, and if you're trying to get numbers, my suggestion to you would be to go find a good bull.
Oh, yeah.
And breed up.
Yeah.
Go find you smaller frame red cows, and you could even start with black, but it's going to take you longer to turn your herd red. If you could find some, smaller frame Hereford, Red Angus, people that are even using Corrientes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a few Corrientes.
Yeah,
I'm using
they're
a
tough
South Pole
cows.
bull.
Those darn things can survive on a sticker bush.
Yeah.
Where a normal cow starved to death. Corrientes come out of the brush looking fat.
Yes.
But see, when you put a South Pole bull on a Corriente cow, guess what you get? You get something better.
Oh, you do. Yeah.
You get more muscle. It takes the spots off, and over time, it takes some of the horns off.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all you're doing is adding value.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what a Corriente cow costs compared to a South Pole cow?
Oh, it's a lot cheaper.
It's a
That's the
lot
reason
cheaper.
I've got more Corrientes than I do South Poles.
Exactly. I'm serious. You can breed up. It takes a little bit more time, but, back in the day, I had a guy in Texas I got started, and he went and bought Corriente cows at that time for $400.
I've got some in my pasture I paid $400 for.
And today, a good South Pole cow is going to cost you $3,000 to $5,000. So you can buy a lot of Corrientes.
Oh, yeah.
And if you got a rough old farm that's got a lot of broom sedge and cedar and sprouts and thorns, Corriente's your cow.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a darn glorified goat, except for they're easier to keep in than a goat.
Yeah, they're easier to keep in than goats. You're exactly right. Yeah. With your South Pole cows, we've talked about how they've been a success, some things that's really been beneficial for you. What would you say is the most important thing that they've done for you?
They've allowed me to realize my dream of having my cow herd support me instead of me support her.
Yes. So
This is
not the
my-
off the farm job.
This was my goal, was to walk away from that town job.
Oh,
And I couldn't, there was no way I was ever going to do it with conventional cows. No way. Because at the end of the year, my inputs were higher than what I was selling them for. These great big cows will bankrupt you. They'll bankrupt you. I get in arguments all the time. It's not an argument. I just tell them the truth on my YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
And the big cow guys, they really come after me.
Oh, I'm sure your
And my big
comments
cow
are
eat
crazy.
just as much. It won't eat any more than your 1,000-pound cow. No, you're mistaken. They do.
Right.
It's just arithmetic.
Yeah. I eat more than my wife does.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just arithmetic, but it makes them mad, and that's okay. Humility, folks. To make a living at this, you got to have humility. You got to be humble. And if you're a proud guy, said, "By God, this is the way I'm going to do it because my dad did it, my grandpa," you're probably not going to be real successful.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get kicked in the teeth, and you got to realize, okay, this is not the way to do it. I got kicked in the teeth.
Oh, yeah.
I was running big cows, and I was convinced that I needed big animals to get big calves. Let's focus on big calves. Folks, it's not profit per calf. It's profit per acre. How many pounds of beef can I raise on an acre? Focus on that.
Yeah.
Focus on that. And that Southpole breed has allowed me to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Heck, we've got employees now working for us, and we're bringing on young people to teach them the grazing business, and I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah. I think that's so exciting for them, such as Isaac that spent so much time with you.
Oh,
Just that foundation. He knows so much more about cattle and grazing
Yes.
than he did today. He probably knows more than I do now.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I mean, he does. He's an unbelievable young man. And we were so fortunate to have him for 5 years. He's moved back to Michigan now, and he's doing his own thing up there. He brought 22 Southpole calves with him out of our herd.
oh, yeah.
So over the years, we allowed him to buy 3 heifers every year.
oh, okay.
And so those started having calves, and he was up to 22 head.
Oh, yeah. That's
He
a
took
great
him with him.
start
He
for
took
him.
him with him to Michigan. So
Yeah.
we're excited for his success, and I know Isaac will do well no matter what he does. I don't care if he flips hamburgers. He'll be the best at flipping hamburgers.
Yeah.
Just kidding. He will be an egg. He's that good a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about the benefits Southpoles have been, what they've done for you. Let's talk a little bit about your management of your cow herd. I know we can find out about your grazing management all over, but just your management of your cows. Are you worming or deworming? You vaccinating? How often do they go through a chute? What kind of stuff are you doing to the cow herd?
Yeah, so cow herd, everything 2 years and under, we do give a blackleg shot.
Oh, yeah.
And folks, if you don't, you're playing Russian roulette, because I didn't do it. For 17 years, I'm like, I'm great, Judy. I'm an expert grazer. I'll never get blackleg, because blackleg's a function of bare soil.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if it gets exposed to bare soil, you're more apt to pick it up. Well, we had a family that was running pastured pigs.
Oh,
and
yes.
the pigs went in and plowed all of our shade. Anything underneath the tree, it was plowed. And that summer, when the cows went to shade, we got blackleg.
Oh,
It kicked me, and I lost 9 head in 4 years. Ever since then, I'm like, no more of that. So the yearlings get blackleg. That's it. We don't worm. We don't vaccinate for anything else. They get an ear tag so we can identify which calves goes to which cow. That's recorded in the notebooks. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. And blackleg bit me. I hadn't got to, we've been vaccinating, but I hadn't done the blackleg on the set of calves, and I got some property I could graze.
Yeah.
I put them over there, and I lost 5 calves.
Oh,
And
just ruins your whole year.
it does. At least they weren't the price they are right now. But
Yeah.
it's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
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 Because,
I lost $30,000 in 4 years.
oh, wow.
I mean, see, here's the deal. Kills your best animals.
Oh.
Did you know that? Blackleg won't kill the average calf. It goes after your very best.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. A veterinarian explained it to me. I won't go into all that, but that's what happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's terrible, terrible stuff.
With your cow management, you mentioned putting ear tags in.
Yeah.
Are you tagging day-old calves?
No. I already learned that. We don't tag when they're a day old. We wait till they're 2 days old. And we just started weighing them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we do weigh that. We want to get the weights on. We're playing around with the idea. We may start registering some of our South Poles. We've been really pushed on hard to do that because we are one of the leading, we were the first ones to get a big herd in Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody, why don't you register? You just don't have time, but we're getting more help now. We may start doing some of that.
Oh, yeah.
Just having the weight of that calf, it tells you which bulls to keep.
Oh, yes.
Because you'll get an outlier there. You'll get a bull, even out of South Pole, he might be 80 pounds, 82. I don't want to use that bull as a breeder.
Oh, yeah.
I want to keep him in that, 50 to 60 pound range, a light
Right.
birth weight. That way I know I can turn those bulls in with a group of heifers and never have to worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't take, I got a sling. It goes right underneath the calf and it's got a handle. You just pull up on it. Okay. Wait.
Yeah. So pretty simple to
It's
get
very
that data.
simple.
Yeah.
Our cows are so docile, we don't have any cows that'll come after.
Oh, yeah.
I got a cow that knocks me on the ground because I got a hold of a calf. That cow is gone.
Oh, yeah.
And so's the calf. I'm not going to keep that.
Yeah.
People say, but that cow's just defending her calf. Well, she can defend it on somebody else's farm. She's not going to knock me down on the ground.
Right. Because you get hurt, that's bigger problems for you.
What if you sell that cow to somebody
Yeah.
and it knocks her kid down and breaks a ribs or whatever? You just can't keep cows that attack a person.
Right.
Period.
Yeah. As you think about the coming years, what do you see for yourself for the South Pole?
Well, I think the South Pole is going one way, and that's up.
Oh, yeah.
You go try and find some today, and folks, we have 135,000 subscribers now across the world.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a guy that's just wearing me slick in London, England. He wants to get South Poles over there, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
you come over and get it. He wants me to do all paper. No, you come over and deal with it. But that in Australia and Canada now, we put the first South Pole in Canada
Oh, yes.
2 years ago.
Oh,
There's
very
a South
good.
Pole bull up there now. They're in South America. I think there's a lot of market for South Pole. I tell you why. The only direction inputs are going is this way.
Mhm.
All inputs are going.
Right.
So if you can get a low input herd on grass that can stay fat and give you a calf solely on grass, no cheating. Don't
Right.
give them soybean hulls or corn gluten and cottonseed cake and all this other stuff. They can do it without anything. That's the herd that's going to make you some money.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking for the future, for young people to get into this, they're going to need a low input herd.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how are you going to stay on the land?
Yeah, exactly.
While we're talking about that, our unfair advantage is lease land.
Oh, yes.
Jan started out leasing land, and it's allowed us to get our numbers up. So I encourage everybody out there. I grew up in this area. I never thought about leasing land.
Oh, yeah.
It's out there. It's out there.
Yeah.
So it allows you to build your numbers. It allows you to take all your money that you make and put it in livestock, not land. Later on, land's a great investment when you can afford to pay cash for it.
Oh, yeah.
But starting
Yeah.
out, it'll hurt you. It'll hurt you. It'll wrap up all your equity. You don't have any money to go buy livestock.
Well, and I know your No Risk Ranching book
Yes.
really changed the paradigm I had on lease land because I thought I've got to buy the land and have a base place.
Yes.
And then I can lease land. But reading your book, I'm like, wait, what am I doing? I can go lease land without having that base place.
Yes.
And I know that sounds so simple, but that's something didn't occur to me till I'd read your book.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I get this. I just had a guy attack me on my YouTube channel 2 days ago. And he's like, well, if I get a lease and I lose it, what about that? You're just making somebody else rich by leasing it. I'm like, no, you're not. You're getting land leased for, ours range from $30 to $70 an acre. You go tell me where you can buy land today for $30 to $70.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do it.
You can't.
And if I do lose a lease, so what? Go get you another one.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let that be a Debbie Downer, call it, where the glass is half full instead of half empty instead of half full,
Oh, yeah.
and it'll slow you down in your path forward. So don't do that. Go forward.
Well, Greg, really appreciate the opportunity to talk
Yep.
to you really quickly. But for our listeners, where can they find out more about you?
Yeah. So if you found out more about us, we have a website. It's called greenpasturesfarm.net. And then my YouTube channel, if you just type in Greg Judy, Regenerative Rancher. 5 videos a week. They're free. And you can go there. If you go to that channel, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate it.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, well, thank you. At Redmond, we know that you thrive when your animals do. That's why it's essential to fill the gaps in your herd's nutrition with the minerals that they need. Made by nature, our ancient mineral salt and conditioner clay are the catalyst in optimizing the nutrients your animals get from their forage. Unaltered and unrefined, our minerals have the natural balance and proportion that your animals prefer. This gives your herd the ability to naturally regulate their mineral consumption as they graze. Our minerals won't just help you improve the health of your animals, but will also help you naturally build soil fertility so you can grow more nutrient-dense pasture year after year. Nourish your animals, your soil, and your life with Redmond. Learn more at redmondagriculture.com. To get started, Ralph and Jerry, can you tell us who you are and a little bit about your operation?
Well, we are a married couple, been married for almost 60 years. We have not been in the farming business all those years. We bought a farm after we've been married for 6 or 8 years, and I had a background in farming before that, but with my dad. But we bought our farm, the first part of it, in 73, and have been raising cattle since 73.
Oh, yes. I don't want to put a time frame on that, but I was just barely here on Earth when you all bought that place. Yeah. So when you all got that, what'd you start doing there?
Well, we started with 10 Black Angus cows, and we expanded and ended up with some cows from Oklahoma, actually, the Flint Hills of Oklahoma.
Oh, yes.
And they were the Emulus strain, and they were really good cows, but, like most Angus breeders and like a lot of breeders in those days, we decided we wanted big cows.
Oh, yeah.
They had to be frame 7, and the bulls had to weigh 2,500 pounds. The problem with that is you end up with a calf every other year, and that's not very good.
But just to pick on some of those continental breeds, and Angus in particular, we dairied, and we used to always breed our heifers to Angus bulls. But then before we got out, we quit doing that because Angus had gotten too big for what we wanted to do with. Yeah. So you grazed Angus. Did you graze Angus until you found South Pole, or did y'all change up anything during that journey?
We actually changed a lot because we had no choice. Every fall when we preg tested, we had 6 or 8 open cows. And the first thing we did was to move to fall calving. And then we added a few red Angus cows to it, continued to fall calf. And then when we bought our first South Poles, they happened to be fall calvers as well, so it fit fine. But we, over a period of too many years, phased out of the Angus altogether.
In the fall calving.
And the fall calving, yeah.
Oh, yeah. When did you get introduced to South Poles?
Our friend Greg Judy had just bought some South Poles, and to make room for the South Poles, he wanted to sell some red Angus cows. So we went up to his farm, and we were looking at the South Pole cows, and Greg made the mistake of leaving the South Pole cows he had just bought in with the field of red Angus cows that he wanted to sell.
Oh.
And I kept saying, what are those? What are those? And I just was so anxious. There was one heifer there that I particularly wanted. It was a heifer calf, and I just begged and begged. And he kept saying, if I sell you that calf, my wife will divorce me. We just bought them. So he set up an appointment with us for us to see Teddy Gentry and Dave Roberts down at Gentry Farms. And within, I'd say, a week or 10 days, we were down there, and we bought 4 cows from them. I think 4 cows and 2 bulls. And that was our beginning.
Well, Jerry, with going up to Greg's and seeing those red Angus beside the South Pole, what stuck out to you about those South Pole cows?
The South Poles looked finished. They looked slick. They looked beautiful. They were built the way I thought a cow should look, and I'm anything but an expert on that. But I just liked them better. They were just beautiful. They moved well. They were always in the sunlight, and as opposed to the other ones who went in the shade, they seemed to be working more.
Yeah. And then when you all had the opportunity, Greg set up so you all go Gentry. Did you see the same thing there when you got down there?
Kind of, yeah, we did. We had met Dave on the porch down there, and when we got there, Teddy was sitting on the porch in a rocking chair, and we were kind of excited to meet Teddy too, because, Alabama, that was a big deal.
I had him take a picture with me so I can send it to my brother, because I told him my brother and I in the 80s would be so shocked I'm talking to you.
We were excited to meet Teddy, but we were just as excited to see the cows. Dave showed us the cows, and we just fell in love with them.
Oh, yeah. I think you said you bought a few head from them?
I think we bought 4 cows and 5. My husband showing 5 fingers. 5 cows and 2 bulls, and we just loved them. And I remember the first year we had them, the first winter, while they were trying to acclimate, they were Southern cows, and some of them were kind of shaky. And I thought, oh my gosh, these poor things. But we've never looked back. We've always loved them. And there was one particular cow that came on the first batch that we bought that hasn't been gone from us for just too terribly long, maybe 2-3 years. And she was a
Queenie?
Yeah, we named her Queenie. She was the queen of the farm.
Yeah. Did you got 5 cows, couple bulls, and you already had, what kind of cattle were you running at that time?
We had some pretty good Angus cattle.
Oh, yeah.
We sold the red Angus cattle back to Greg. Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with that. We were talking at a South Pole function. I would accuse Greg of selling me a bunch of junky red Angus cow. And I said he was so goofy, he'd come back 2 years later, bought him back from us, But we've got a really good relationship with Greg. We've been friends for
forever.
Yeah.
You got those initial South Poles. Did they meet your expectations? Did they solve any problems you were having?
Absolutely. We calved in the fall, as I told you, we've been to fall calving. One year on Labor Day, we had a bunch of black calves, fall calving cows, had black calves on Labor Day weekend. They were okay. Now, this was a hot, dry August that we were coming out of, and apparently, we didn't realize how weak the cows and calves were. But anyway, the calves hit the ground, got up, nursed. After 3 or 4 days, we lost 4 calves. They just, the black cows just couldn't tolerate that heat. Our red Angus cows did fine. The South Pole cows did fine. That convinced us right there that we really needed to make the switch.
Did you go buy more cows, or did you upgrade the cows you had by continuing breeding to South Poles?
Kind of like jewelry. Our cars, you always have to go buy more. You want a little bit more. We went back and we bought a few more cows and a few more cows. And then we went to, I think Teddy had a couple of auctions at the time. And we bought a couple from there. And we would always stop by and see Teddy and Dave as we would go through that area. We loved the South, and we would always stop by and see him. And Teddy would always have something there that he said, well, many times he said, everything in this field, that we were looking at bulls, everything in this field was for sale except one bull. His number was 3413. And I thought, well, that's strange. Dave had told me it wasn't for sale. And I talked to Teddy later, and I said, Teddy, on a farm like yours, everything's for sale. And he said, well, okay, if you want him, I'll sell him too. And Dave was fit to be tied, but we were happy. And ironically, on that particular bull, Teddy was up at our farm, a few years later, and maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And he said, "Ralph, where did you get that bull?" And Ralph said, "Teddy, from you." And he said, "No." And he said, "I'll give you $4,000 for him." And Ralph said, "Okay," because we had used him 2 or 3 years.
Oh, yes.
And then Teddy said, "Well, what'd you pay me for him?" And Ralph said, $5,000. So Teddy said, okay, I'll give you $5,000. But they didn't do that. But Teddy is a good, honest, knowledgeable cattleman. And he has always worked with us. And I always thought he had sympathy for us because he always tried to tell people they needed to breed up. And I said, "Teddy, we are too old. We're never going to get there." And he felt sorry for me. And he has helped us through the years. And Teddy's been wonderful for us.
Oh, yes. So is the majority of your herd registered stock now?
It's all red. Yeah.
And it's all full blood.
All full blood as well.
Well, there's one that's not a full blood.
One of the best cows on the farm is a half South Pole, half Center Pole. Now, the mother of this is also the mother of Broadway, one of the leading bulls in the breeds. She's a great cow, but Teddy just did that for the hell of it. And Jerry fell in love with the cow as a calf even.
I saw that calf out in the field when she was 2 months old, and I begged for her for years and years and years. And finally, he sold her to me.
Well, the interesting thing about this cow is, as a half Center Pole, she's very, very heat-tolerant. The Center Pole have been found to be among the most heat-tolerant cattle around. And so here we've got this cow, and we sell her part South Pole, part Center Pole cow, bulls calves, for about as much as we sell our better full bloods. But there are a lot of commercial guys, they don't care a bit about the papers. And
Right.
These bulls have really done people a good job.
They are wonderful. She's my baby. She's going to be there for a long time yet.
Oh, yeah.
She's 15, still doing a good job.
Oh, well, excellent. Yeah. Yeah, we're talking to Teddy earlier, talking about the longevity and how important that is. Yeah. Are you all finding your cows have a lot of longevity?
Yeah, we've got a 17-year-old cow going, and 2 16-year-old cows, and a whole bunch of 12 and 14 and 15-year-old cows still performing. And some of the 12 and 13s are still at their peak, I think.
Yeah.
The 17-year-old cow is going down a little bit. Boy, if you look at her heifers, they're just absolutely to die for.
Yeah.
And then we had a cow recently that died at 20.
Oh, yeah. For our herd, and when I say our herd, I'm talking about my dad's herd because my herd's not that old. But when that cow hits 10 years old, we start thinking it may be time for her to go. And I'll be honest, most of the time we don't sell them till they raise a dink. But then we figure it's time, but we don't get them quite to the age you are.
There's something that Dave Roberts told me that I think people should know. The Barzona cows are the reason for the longevity. They just live forever. Teddy bought a bunch of Barzonas from a man named Frank Felt in Maryville, Missouri. Frank had registered Herefords and these Barzonas that he had just got into. And Teddy bought, I don't know exactly how many, a good sized number of them, and brought them back to Gentry. Some of them lived to be as much as 29 years old,
wow.
and none of them lived to be less than 19. So think about it, 19 to 29. How do you ask for more than that?
Just when I just mentioned with our cows, 10 years old, we start getting concerned about how they're going to continue. But you just doubled that lifetime right there.
Absolutely.
And that makes a big difference when you're not replacing your income producing unit, that cow. provide a calf every year.
Ralph has kind of zeroed in on what we call cow families. We have certain families that always produce you a great calf, and they go on to be great breeders. They milk well. They take care of their calves. They're very maternal, and some of those families we know are great, and we're going to keep them forever. And the one particular cow that he was that we I think lived to be 20 was a cow by the number of 425, and we kept her very last heifer, and her very last heifer just calved for the first time about a week ago. And now these I tend to call them people. I'll say, Ralph, who are those people? Well, I mean, who are those cows? But, those cows will stay on the farm forever. I mean, we know that family's going to be great. And it's interesting to watch those families go on and reproduce and do more. We also used the bull Broadway. And I think we have more Broadway animals than probably maybe any herd in the breed.
Possibly.
And we just love him. The Broadway combination just puts a sparkle on those animals. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. With your cow herd, how are you marketing your calves?
About all we market, all we sell are bulls because that's all we get.
Yeah.
Until this year, I was a little bit afraid because our good cows were simply not having heifers. They were always having bulls.
Oh, yes.
Now, that's good for the bottom line on the short term because everybody wants those good bulls, but I'm not putting those good genetics back in my herd on the female side, and it's a problem. But anyway, this year we've got a lot more females in the 2025 calf crop, and partially that's because we used heifer plus semen on the AI, and some of the cows that might have had bull calves otherwise did have heifers this year. Now we still had 5 or 6 more bull calves than heifer calves this year, but in other years, imbalance has been much worse.
Oh.
Two-thirds bulls, 1/3 heifers, common.
We don't have marketing problems as such because people are always calling. I mean, everybody wants South Pole females. They're a really hot item on the market. And the bulls, we started, I think, this last year with 36 bulls. And we're down to 2, maybe 3. And, they're not hurting anything. They're there. And
we didn't have 36 for sale. We combed out of that 36, and then we had like 30 or 31 that were good enough for bulls. And
yes,
pretty well.
We don't sell them all for bulls. We kind of go through them too, and some of them just that don't make the criteria just go to market.
Oh, yeah. Do you find most of your bulls are going to people that's already breeding South Pole, or do you get some new people in as well?
All kinds of new people. But we also get people that have a whole lot of cows that want to buy 10 or 20 at a time. And a lot of those guys don't have. So they've got commercial cows and they want to put a South Pole bull on it. But we've got people that we've known and we've sold bulls to for years. They'll come every 2 or 3 years with their bull. And it's just all over the map.
We sold bulls a few years ago to Hawaii. How many did we sell?
21 bulls.
21 bulls. A friend of ours was running the Hana Ranch, and he came over and he chose 21 bulls, and they were young bulls. They were yearling bulls. And Ralph darn near lived with those bulls until they picked him up. And I mean, they sneezed and he was there with Kleenex. But when they picked him up, they had to have some shots and stuff to go to Hawaii. Yeah. When they picked him up in a truck. They were trucked from Lynn, Missouri, where we live, to Los Angeles. Then they were flown on a FedEx plane, believe it or not, to the Big Island in Hawaii, and then they were put on a barge and barged to Maui. And the last we heard, they were grazing on Oprah Winfrey's grass in Maui, and that was one of the really fun things we did.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen pictures; they're beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that would be just the scenery in Maui. My wife's from Maui. So, I've told on the podcast, she went over ahead of me and I kept asking for pictures. She says, we haven't gone anywhere. And I get there and you could have taken a picture from any direction she looked.
The guys that bought the bulls from us sent us a picture of one of the bulls grazing with the Pacific Ocean in the back.
Oh,
They were literally right on there.
It was beautiful.
A 4,000 acre ranch.
with your commercial purchasers. They're buying those South Pole bulls to take back and put on commercial cows. What's their goal?
I always ask, and I'll tell you, they've got a zillion goals. A lot of them want to get into the grass-fed business. Some just, want to breed up to get into, to get a purebred.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the difference between a purebred and a full-blood?
I am, but it'd be great if you want to explain it for our listeners.
Purebred is a purebred cow has to have been bred up from, no bloodline or whatever, no South Pole blood, half, 3/4, 7/8. And once you get to 7/8, that's considered purebred for a female because the next calf is 15/16. And there you've got your purebred. Full blood has to be quarter from the get-go.
Now, a bull to be purebred has to be 15/16.
Yeah, has to come out of a 15/16 cow.
Oh, okay. Yes. So bulls required one more generation at heifer.
Exactly. A lot of people ask when they buy, they say, is this a full blood or a purebred? And that means a lot to some of them about being a full blood. But really, we have encouraged young people. The full blood cattle are more expensive, of course. Right. We have encouraged young people who are just starting, buy a good full blood bull and then start breeding up. That's what we did in some of our areas. Mostly we didn't. We were lucky enough that we didn't have to. But a lot of people do, and that's how they get up there. And to that extent, I don't think a lot of people care whether it's a full blood or a purebred. But I think if you have one of these animals and you don't register it, you're very foolish because the registration itself puts that stamp of approval on it, and it says, I am a real South Pole. And that makes that animal more valuable and should be more valuable.
Hate to bring up things that make me sound dumb, but I have just so many examples. Like my South Pole bull right now, I bought a commercial South Pole bull. I wish I would have paid a little bit more and got a registered one for, like, as you mentioned, Ralph. Then I could have registered those females out of them as 50%. But because I was, trying to save a little bit of money, I got a commercial bull, and he doesn't have any papers. So those heifers don't have any papers on them.
Let me give your listeners a little bit of advice. This is not my idea. This idea was developed by people I sold bulls to. I don't know how this happened. The East Coast of the United States is a hotbed for from South Carolina up through Pennsylvania. We have been selling, we get calls all the time from those states. We sold, I can give you the names of people that I've never met in Pennsylvania. But there's a young woman back there who really is a fanatic on South Poles, and she's got a good bull that she bought maybe 3 years ago, and she wanted to swap it with a guy that bought it a couple of years ago. I thought, man, that's a good idea. That's got our impact mud wallet. because I'm not going to be able to sell them a bull every week.
Right.
But that's okay. And, if the people out there don't make money, then they're not going to be in the business at all down the road. And anyway, she is now working, and she and some of the other guys out there, the 3 best bulls we raised in, I think 23, went to Pennsylvania. Or three of the best, maybe not the best, but 3 of the best went to Pennsylvania. And those guys are talking about swapping.
Oh,
So what I've started doing recently is telling guys, you ought to come in here with your friend, and you guys ought to buy 2 bulls of equal quality, and you ought to take them home and use your bull for 2 years, and he use his bull for 2 years, and then in 2 years you swap, and you have bought 4 years of bull service for 5 or 8 or however many thousands of dollars you pay from the new. But you got to buy, the 2 guys got to go together, and they should buy a bull that they're willing to swap for.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that idea.
It's catching on.
Yeah. Well, Ralph and Jerry, really appreciate you come on to real quick to share. Where can others find out more about you?
Well, we have a website. It is Voss South Poles. Now that's VOSSS, 3 S's. Voss South Poles.
At Gmail. Oh, that's our email address.
Well, you better tell them what
just
it is.
Voss South Poles would get us the website.
Oh,
Phone number would be on there.
Yes, and Ralph's phone number is 573-694-1682, and mine is the same except 1681. I always told him I'm number 1, he's number 2.
perfect. Yeah. I really appreciate you all sharing with us today.
Well, thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to talk about South Pole cows.
I'm glad you're here to see some of it and talk about it. And, it would be good for people to have South Poles. I mean, they're our kids who know who knew nothing about beef, in fact, started saying, "Mom, we don't really want to buy this hamburger at the store anymore. Can we get in your freezer and get some more?" So it's good. It's healthy.
Well, very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you tell us who you are and about your operation?
Yeah, I'm Steve Freeman, and with my wife, we operate Woods Fork Cattle Company in Hartville, Missouri, which is in the southern Ozarks of Missouri.
Whereabouts in the southern Ozarks?
We're 50 miles east of Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, okay. So being in northeast Oklahoma, when I think about southern Missouri, once you hit Springfield, I really think that's too far east, and I don't think about it too much.
Well, we still have to think about it. Springfield's our main town. If you're going to go to a big town, it's Springfield, Missouri.
Well, we do like to go up to Buc-ee's up there. So tell us about your operation there in southern Missouri.
Well, we are a low input, based on grazing, cow-calf operation, commodity cattle operation. I say commodity plus because we sell a lot of replacement cows. Our steers, we background and buy more steers in and graze those as well. We think of those as our cushion around the cow herd, but also a very profitable enterprise. But so anyway, we are basically a cow-calf operation. We background all our calves and graze them. We're, as I said, low input. We don't feed grain and that kind of thing, but all a grazing operation.
How long have you been grazing cattle?
Well, let's see. We started in 78. We were grazing steers, bottle-raised steers. We purchased the present farm we're on, 87. In 1987, so it's been a while. And I worked 10 years for a pretty extensive cattle operation where we were running Brahma cross cattle on rented land all over southern Missouri.
So you were running some Brahma cattle on some leased land for someone else?
Yeah, I was hired. That was my job. I was just a hired
Did you
hand.
start your operation?
87, we went to almost full-time farm.
Oh, okay. That was before that. Yeah. And did you stick with the Brahmas?
Yes, we did. We did. I heard, and Judy and I started off, things didn't always, 9 years of working for some good cattlemen, I kind of thought I knew the business really well. And through some fortunate breaks, we were able to get started. And I was pretty sure I knew how to make a profit. And we were fortunate to buy cattle at the bottom of the cattle cycle. This This was the 80s farm crisis. And so we also buying land when it was really cheap. It worked out that way. But then we were living on that luck and good fortune and seeing that we weren't going to be profitable running cattle the way we were, which was calving in the winter and late winter, a lot of tubs to get them bred, all the things that cattlemen often do. But I kept pretty good books. My mom was a good businesswoman, and she taught me to keep really good records and books and know where your business stands. And our business was not going to stand very long if the prices didn't keep going up. So we made some switches. Anyway, at a conference, I heard Dr. Gordon Hazard and Alan Nation talk about if you're going to be a low input, grass-based operation, livestock operation, you better get in sync with nature, or it's going to be very difficult to ever be profitable.
So we were talking a little bit before we got started here. How did you do that transition from fall calving to spring calving?
Well, it was actually winter calving.
Or winter calving.
Yeah, like the worst, Yeah. Well, it's easier to make it from winter to spring than it is to go to spring back to winter. But when we bought that farm, we had about 185, 200 cows that came with the farm. And like all guys, instead of selling them and taking advantage of the rising prices and getting rid of that herd, we thought, there's some pretty good ones in there. So we kept them. But when we went to this spring calving, true spring calving, and that came down to, it didn't happen all at once. But the problem with spring calving, which I believe you really should do to be profitable, you're going to have your babies in sync with all the other North American wild herbivores, right? Seems to be a cycle here, but you got to breed in July and August, which in Missouri means hot and humid, and you have the endophyte infected fescue, which is a vascular restrictor, which keeps cattle from keeping themselves as cool as they could be. That's why you see so many, I call them a pulled water buffalo, out in the pond where you just see the top of their heads. The fescue is doing a lot of that to them. So you've got that on top of it. But we were so determined that we wanted to calve in the middle of April to the 1st of June in that short window that we started bringing Brahma cross cattle in, potloads of them from Texas, everywhere else, and trying to find the right bulls to breed to them. But we learned how to market fall calving and open cows very well, trying to get that system to go. We never did fall calve, but we bred them for fall calving, and we had to learn how to market cows really well because we had so many fallout of breeding during that period. We were trying to get a spring calving herd. It was much more difficult than I had anticipated. Kip Farrell was also talking about it during that time. He was an influence on that. But even Kip, once he hit fescue, decided in fescue country you should fall calve. And Judy's German. She got stubborn in her. I followed Judy. And she said, I think we can do this. But we were on the road 20 years. We were making progress. We were doing well, but nowhere near as well as we did when we switched to South Pole cattle.
So when did you get introduced to South Pole?
About 15 years ago, we saw they're going to have a pasture walk, and they were advertising a new breed of cattle. And it happened to be Bruce and Sunshine Shanks cattle. And we got to see that beautiful herd of theirs. And we looked at that and we said, there's the cattle we've been aiming to breed for almost 20 years now, right here in front of us. And my mom is a real good businesswoman. And she gave me some really good advice on business all the time. And one of those was, if you don't think too good, don't think too much.
That's what I need to do.
And what she meant by that, she told me, what she meant was, you can be a good businessman without coming up with the best and most innovative ideas. But what you have to do is know your business well enough, inside and out, so that you recognize good ideas of others and how to implement it in your business. And so when we saw those cows, we knew those were the cows we needed to put into our business. And that's when the change really started happening with the way we select heifers. We were looking for quick genetic change, and South Poles were the key to that. We had been using Beefmaster bulls, and we love Beefmasters. I absolutely do, but they were not suited for what we were looking for, and they were not suited for a humid, non-brittle environment like we're in. They were not used to humidity, the parasites, and the heat of trying to get bred in the summer.
So were those the main struggles you had with those, that when you saw the South Pole, you're like, hey, this can solve those issues? Or
That was the
attempt
cow
to?
we were looking to breed ourselves. That we had been trying to make was a red polled, extremely heat tolerant, fertile animal, so that she can have a spring calving. We can calve in the spring of Missouri and get them red back in the heat of July and August. That's what we were looking for, and a medium size. The other thing with Beefmasters, like I said, we love that breed. There's beautiful Beefmasters, but our cows were getting so big. 1,300, we had 1,400 pound cows. That was not what we were looking for, but we couldn't get away from it using the Beefmaster bulls on Brahma cross cattle.
Oh, yeah. I think Beefmasters, there's some breeders breeding a little bit more moderate sized Beefmasters now.
We were buying directly from Lassiter, and that's a Colorado. It's a brittle, non-humid environment, and he was looking for something else. But also, he had terminal traits he was putting into his cattle. The South Pole doesn't do that. It is exclusively maternal traits put into the composite, which means we don't have the big growth. Mr. Lassiter wanted large cows. He wanted high yielding. He wanted heavy milking cows. We want low and moderate milking because our groceries are not as good as his groceries for these cattle. And we don't want to bring in anything extra. What else? We don't want the big cows. Tom Lassiter didn't think a cow could ever be too long. We think they can. We got to compress them, make them a little shorter, bigger barrels, eat that lignified grass, be able to handle what we provide in our environment. And for us, that's a short, bigger barreled animal, easy fleshing, and highly fertile.
When you started breeding South Pole, so I assume you bought bulls in and bred them to your Beefmaster. Did you also bring in females?
No, we have never bought a South Pole cow.
So you did this all through just utilizing South Pole bulls?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We're up to 90% of them are purebred now. We don't really think of them any differently. It's just Judy's on the board. We like to support the Grass Cattle Association, so we register them and we keep up on all that. But we used full-blood and purebred bulls for the selection process, for breeding during that time, for the selection process for the heifers out of them.
Oh, yes. How quickly did you notice a difference in getting those heifers bred to calve at 2 years old and handling the heat?
Yeah, well, what was amazing was that first cross on the Beefmasters, which ours were pretty well pure Beefmaster by then. That was a beautiful cross. I mean, it was amazing. And I expected, because you actually had two composites going, that they wouldn't be uniform. Instead, it was the other way. Man, they were the most uniform calves we ever had. It was an exciting time. Each time you cross, you take away a little bit from that first hybrid vigor that you do on that first cross. You have to get used to that. But I would say it took us, just a couple. The South Pole, when we started, before we had South Pole, place where you always lose it is the first calf heifer breeding back.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
And
we're only doing 45 days, and we're counting them out at 24 months, right? We don't supplement, we don't feed. So we had 65, 75% 2-year-olds breed back. We learned how to market them. It was part of the business. But when we went to South Pole, we're now that 90, 95% bred back in 45 days. And that changed our whole business, because all of a sudden, because we're bringing all these bred heifers into the market, we've got brood cows, good brood cows to sell to other farmers.
Yeah, that's not at their end of their life that you're just culling.
No, these are not
animal.
culls. These are good cows for replacement cows.
Yeah. And to be fully transparent, that's a huge struggle. And that's the reason we started on my dad's cows, changing what our breeding program was. We were very much limousine and very much we were using full-blood limousine bulls. And then we got where we couldn't get heifers to calve at 2 years of age at 24 months. And then if they calved, it was another problem to get them bred back. So we started playing with these breeds, and we brought in some Beefmaster as well as some other breeds, trying to get that better. And it's still a work in progress right now.
Yeah, well, it's a tough part of it. And we knew it. I knew it from, the ranch I'd worked on, the large farm. I had seen that all along. We knew we were going to have trouble with 2-year-olds. But we wanted that true maternal cow. If you want to go terminal, you can on the whole herd. But, the limousine, that's part of the continental, the European invasion with the continental cattle coming in. They are always slower maturing animals.
Well, and I tell that, and I haven't fully got him convinced. This is a little paradigm switch for him. But if we had a herd that was predominantly South Pole, moderate size, if we want to go back with a terminal sire on those, such as the Limousine or Charlet, get that size, get the muscling a little bit better, we could at that point.
Oh, absolutely. Then you're into that small, efficient, fleshy cow, and the big calf you're going to get a number one.
Oh,
you're going to get a large number one calf, and you sell all the calves. Don't keep the heifers. That's what we've done for generations now, is keep the heifers. So we have 1,500-pound cows that we have to, a whole industry has sprung up to feed these cows so that they can breed back.
Yeah. And that's the tough part. We have hair sheep, and I just brought in a Dorper ram last year. But we're going to keep a few of those half Dorper, half Katahdin ewe lambs, see how they do. But really, when I think about it, we should sell them all. And we should focus on the Katahdins for the maternal trait, and then use that Dorper as a terminal.
The hardest part is, and there's some really good composites out there in cattle too. You got your Limflex, you got your Balancers, and they're really good, but they're still trying to take those terminal characteristics that are antagonistic to each other, right?
Right.
And you're trying to compress them into one cow, you're never going to get the best. If you can keep your maternal line separate from your terminal line and then cross, you got it worked out. But we don't want to do that. We want to use one bull, keep heifers out of them. We don't want to, the system is there. And if you read Burke Teichert's stuff, I'm sure you're aware of Burke, and this is what he espouses. And really all you have to do is read Burke's blog, and you can figure out how to make money in this cow-calf business, but also how to breed cattle.
Yeah, and Burke's someone I need to get on the podcast. I got to get him on here.
Oh, he's the most knowledgeable and most humble, and just a wonderful human being to be around.
And then, so we've talked about a lot of good reasons for South Pole, why they're working for you, why they should work if you're keeping your heifers. You sell these cows to commercial producers. Well, how are they using those cows?
Well, the idea was, when we sold them, we wanted to develop this market for commercial cattlemen, and we have, but all of them have kept breeding them to South Pole, which makes sense, because really there's no reason to be breeding to terminal sires right now when the South Pole heifer brings so much money. Now, this is what Teddy Gentry just told me. He explained it to me yesterday, and he's absolutely right. Why bring to what you lose on getting a medium 1 to 2 instead of a large number 1? You make up for on the other end with the heifers if you want to sell them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So why would you breed to a terminal sire when you can sell the South Pole heifers at such a high price? So they've all kept breeding to South Pole.
Yes. Which finding females is difficult. So there is a great market for South Pole female.
There is. And I heard a reproduction specialist, one of the top in the nation, say at a small meeting, extension meeting, when I asked him why you had to use all this. He was talking about getting cows bred, and he was going through all the supplementation, the hormone treatments, and all that. I said, and I brought Judy, which was a mistake because I don't usually take her to these, but she said, why in the world are we listening to this? And so I raised my hand. I said, why do we have to do all this to get cows bred? He says, because we have bred out the natural fertility in the U.S. cow herd. So now we have all these females we're going to have to replace if we want to go back to a more natural way of getting animals bred.
Yeah. Which that statement comes as no surprise to me, just as I look at and see what's going on. To a commercial producer that's thinking they've just heard of South Poles, what would you tell them?
Come look at them. I will tell you, when you first see them and you're used to 1,500-pound cows and 1-ton bulls, it'll shock you, especially when they're younger. They grow out well. I mean, it took us that. We actually just bought them to breed to heifers. And we kept looking at them and said, man, those are nice looking little calves, but they're just too small.
Right.
And when Judy brought Judy's one who instigated all this, when she brought the first bulls out from Teddy Gentry, and we unloaded them right in, it happened where we had to unload them right into 100 degrees, July 4th, and we turned bulls in.
Yeah.
And we got these 4 little gentle bulls, and I'm going, this is nuts, Judy. Where did you get these bulls? It wasn't a minute. These were virgin bulls, and they hopped out, and all the heifers came up to see them. It was right in the middle of the day, and we had the first one bred, and from then on, they kept breeding. That changes your mind on what you think a bull has to look like when they start breeding. They aren't big, but they grow, and when they're mature bulls, they look good. But the thing is, they work so hard as yearlings that we expect them to breed 15 to 20 cows as yearlings. Yeah, these guys, I said there was 100 and something heifers in that group. It was the best breed up we ever had. 4 yearling bulls that didn't weigh 800 pounds. And I said they did their job with a smile on their face, and they put weight on them.
Oh, yeah.
I said, man,
That's-
this might really be something.
That's amazing to breed that young a bull during the heat, and they finish with more weight because you can really pull down a bull during that time. Yeah.
Yeah, it changed my mind. Judy wasn't crazy.
Well, Steve, we really appreciate you coming on for this really quick recording. Where can others find out more about you?
Oh, it'd be pretty hard. I'd be happy to leave my phone number or my email, and that's pretty well it. We don't have a website. I don't do Facebook. Judy doesn't do Facebook. We're pretty well isolated.
What I would encourage listeners to do, go YouTube to South Pole Field Day or South Pole Grass Cattle Association and go there and look up the YouTube video with you on it. It's very knowledgeable. Very good. So
Well, thank you.
really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
was fun.
Okay, to get started, tell us who you are and a little bit about your operation.
Yeah. So my name's Nathan Hahn, and me and my wife Ellie and 2 kids. We run Unity Farms in central Kentucky, Harrodsburg, Kentucky. We are primarily a grass-based operation. We finish beef, we sell some bulls, and we also do some pasture poultry.
Oh, okay. Did you grow up in agriculture?
Not really. It was always in the background. My family did, but I actually grew up a military kid. My dad joined the military. Okay. He came out of farming his whole childhood, and he wanted to get away from it. He joined the military. He retired out west, and then we moved back. But primarily, my family was still in agriculture. And,
okay.
But when we were in the military, when my dad was in the military, we really weren't the traditional military style. We were always off base, and my dad would rent a farm or something like that. We'd always be off. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You know, as I talk to old dairymen, like to say, you can't get that out of your blood. If you really want to do it, you're going to be doing it. It sounds like your dad had some of that because leasing a farm, keeping that agricultural connection going.
They wanted that for us, and they didn't, both my mom and dad were raised in that world, and they didn't want us to lose that, the values that come with it. So
yeah, very good. So when did you all come across South Poles?
Gosh, me and my wife were just talking about this, and I was like, I'm going to get the date wrong. It's been
as long as it's not your anniversary, you're okay.
Right. It's been 4 or 5 years, I guess now. I was training horses for a living. I used to start colts, and I guess a YouTube video, and I'm not sure if it was Greg or if it was actually one of Hetty's videos. That spurred up, but I'll shame myself a little bit. I was warming up a microwave meal in a living quarters trailer, and I was, like watching videos on grazing and stuff, and I came across them through there. So yeah.
So what was your process once you kind of got exposed and you're like, hey, this is interesting. I need to learn more about it. What'd you do?
Yeah. Well, I've always really been drawn. I don't know. I've always been interested in people who are doing things different than other people.
Oh yeah.
And so that was probably the initial draw, but I don't know, really. I guess you mean the process into getting into them?
Yeah. So you discover this, and a lot of us dive in deep. Then we start looking at more information. Were you able to go to a farm to see them? Did you make it to a field day?
Yeah, I went to some field days, Dakota Blanks and the Virginia South Pole Association. I'd been out there to them, and then I attended some South Pole field days like this, where we're today. And yeah, just kind of got around it. And honestly, I think I fell in love with the community more than I did the cattle at first. It was good people, It
is a wonderful community.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so then from that point, we actually, about 5 miles up the road, I found a guy who had some, they're pretty much composite South Poles is what they were. And he had some Greg Judy bulls, he had some Pharaoh bulls, and so we actually bought them out. And and at the time we had been running custom grazing baldies and doing, that's kind of what we were doing. So we got to run them side by side. So it was kind of fun to see that first calf crop we knew. We were like, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
What problem did you see the South Pole solving for you?
Really, I mean, probably the grass conversion problem. I mean, we have fescue. And fescue's a deal, and they just did a whole lot better on it. And they were always out grazing. And then when we started weighing our cattle, on the finishing side of things, it was very clear who was gaining better quicker.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a financial decision too.
Oh, yeah. So you mentioned finishing there. How are you finishing your animals?
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, on pasture, we graze very intentional, through our cow-calf herd, and then through our finishers and developing heifers. And to be honest with you, we're kind of playing with that because we really dived into total grazing.
Oh,
and
okay.
we're really excited about that. And I think as our genetics are developing, we're able to do more and still finish an animal and maybe get away with some things that you couldn't with other genetics,
Oh,
and
yes.
still have a good product at the end. So primarily what we were doing before was more of a leader follower system.
Oh, okay.
And we would have our finishers out front, kind of taking the best, and then we'd have the cow herd following to clean up. Or depending upon the year, we've been in our third year of severe drought, so
Yes.
depending on the year, we might just break them off and haul them to the lease property and just graze them on once a day moves more selectively.
Oh, yeah.
But this year primarily we've had them with our developing heifers, and we've been doing once a day moves and around 75 to 80% harvest efficiency, and man, they're doing really well. We're really impressed.
Yes.
Yeah, we're really impressed with them. So
Oh, very good. How do you know when a steer or heifer, whatever you're processing, is finished?
yeah, good question. Yeah, post that online and see what the comment section says.
The comment section will be alive.
Oh man, yeah. So, well, primarily, I think it's really depends on the cows they're out of, and because genetically, you're gonna have cattle like people carry weight in different places, but generally speaking, we're looking for a lot of roundness, a lot of fullness, no ribbiness, and we try to keep it pretty simple. I like to see fat around the tail and the tail head, and age. People are like, well, we finish them at 24 months. Well, we've had some that finish at 20 months. We've had some that finish at 30 months.
Oh, yes.
So I think as we dial in on that, on that genetic and get more of a concentrate of what we're looking for, I think we'll have a better idea of what that looks like every day. But generally speaking, yeah, we're just looking for full animals,
Yeah. When you're selling this meat to the direct consumer, are you selling halves and wholes, or are you selling retail cuts?
We have done both. We've gone from the farmer's market to the come to the farm. We don't want to talk to you. Sorry, anybody listen to this, but
I get that.
they
though.
understand. Yeah, it's tough. I've got young kids. We've got growing the business.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're doing the poultry side of things too, and so yes, it's busy, and thankfully we had a processor. They're like 6 miles up the road from us come in.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
USDA, and they're fabulous people, great people. Put a little plug for Oxbow Meats. So great people, great friends, and we're excited to continue to work with them. So
Oh, yeah.
and they've kind of helped us, with being able to have people come to the processor locally instead of coming to the farm.
Oh, yes.
Right, because they're 6 miles up the road. So
Right.
we don't have to distribute things out at the farm.
Yeah, and when I think about direct consumer for us, for me to get a USDA inspection, I've got to drive an hour
That's
away.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's I would say an unfair advantage for you.
Yeah. Low hanging fruit. Yeah. To grab and yeah, we were driving like an hour and 45 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of tough. So yeah.
What kind of feedback have you received from your beef?
Yeah. Really good. That was a big change too, is when we were coming from as we've been developing our genetics and we were coming from maybe not as great of grass converters and we
Right.
improved upon our genetics, even inside of the South Pole realm, it's gotten better and better. And I think that, I know that the response has gotten better and better. And that probably has something to do with maybe experience too,
Oh.
as we get better and start to see what we need to do a little bit better, how we need to graze them and finishing animals through drought isn't always fun, but the response has been great. And this year, actually, we scaled back a little bit. We were transitioning some stuff I had mentioned before. We're in a transition period, and we actually got rid of several of our finishers to some friends who finished for other people.
Oh, yes.
And and I've asked all of them, like, what do you think? And heck, I was just talking to one the other day. He said, man, he had sold some to his brother-in-law, and he said his brother-in-law is like the hardest person in the world to impress. And he said, that's the best beef I've ever had.
Oh, yes.
And it was out of a full-blood South Pole heifer. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. Yeah. When we're thinking about direct to consumer, a lot of times, at least I'm going to say for my mind, I go to steers because that's their end goal. But also, if you have a heifer that doesn't breed, she works good in that. Do you all also take open cows and put them through that market, or do you do those differently?
No, well, yeah, we do that. I mean, honestly, sometimes the open cows may be some of the best beef you'll ever have,
Right,
And
yeah.
They're a hidden gem. A lot of people overlook them, but yeah, they're a lot of people just want to beef them and they don't think about the steaks and the other cuts off of them. But man, don't miss that. Don't miss that.
Don't sleep on that. Yeah.
So yeah, we use opens, and then and where we're developing our genetics, and we definitely put pressure on our cattle grazing, and so we'll have some open heifers, and they're at that 16, 17 months, carry them through winter. There's a spring, and they're ready. So it's pretty easy to get them to the processor.
Yeah. Do you find the South Pole's got a good enough finish? Do you find it being consistent enough across animals?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Johann Ziesman says that there's as much variation inside of a breed as there is a crossbreed.
Exactly.
And so I think, sure, it depends on, I guess, how far into developing your herd. Are you line breeding? Are you not? What are you bringing in, Because you can walk out there right now and there's a lot of variation in frame. They're all moderate framed, but, how they're carrying it's all a little bit different. Yeah. So,
and I talked to Teddy earlier, and, we were talking about the line breeding in use to develop the breed to get that uniformity. And even though there's variation out here, I actually feel like there's less variation out here than in a lot of breeds I see. And this one's so young.
Yeah.
But you bring up a great point when we talk about variation or uniformity of color, of size. There's more to it than just that. How are they carrying that weight? How is it distributed across them? As we're focused on the carcass side.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can go out there, we were joking about it last night, and depending upon the part of the country you're in,
yes.
Right? If you go down there and you look at where those cattle came out of and look at the weather conditions they've been having, the growing season they've been having, there's variation out there, so that's I think that's a huge difference, right, in finishing animals on pasture versus, sending them to a feedlot or something like that. Is the ration's going to be varied. It's going to be varied, whether you want it to be or not. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah. When you mentioned farmers market earlier, you mentioned them coming to the farm and now coming to a processor. Are you still doing farmers market?
Not really. No, we've thought about it. We've got some friends that finish beef, and they've been able to source some great kids that are able to go to the markets for them and do all that. And yeah, honestly, it's just a time thing. We love our local farmers markets, and they do a great job, but it's just, peddling beef is, by the cut's tough.
Yeah, it's a full day just to go to a half-day market.
Yeah, well, it's like you got to, you're getting up, you're getting loaded, you got to make sure everything's staying cool, you're unloading, and setting up. Everybody's wanting to talk while you're setting up,
Right, because I go to the farmer's market as a consumer. And yeah, I want to talk to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday morning. Yeah, people are there to, chit chat, and at ours, sometimes they'll have coffee and different things, and everybody, it's just like the local hangout, and we're over here just trying to sell you a ribeye. So,
yeah, have a ribeye with your coffee.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Now, with your meat cuts and selling them, you mentioned selling directly from the processor or pick up at the processor. I assume that's for your halves and wholes.
Yeah.
And maybe a quarter. Do you do some quarters?
Yeah. Yeah. We have done some quarters. I mean, we've done quarters are pretty popular, because that's a not as big of a commitment. And,
right.
And people want to try you out. So they, they'll get a quarter or something. But, so we're doing wholes, halves, and quarters from the processor. And we've also done them, where somebody couldn't get them and we didn't want to hold up. We'll bring them home and let people come get them at a later date.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When you think about the customer life cycle there, how are you obtaining those customers?
Yeah, that's a good one. We do, we're on social media a little bit. Not so sure that's it, but I mean, honestly, word of mouth is powerful.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
it is. It's a powerful thing. And well, like, the internet is a double-edged sword for sure.
It is, yes.
It is. But, I think just honestly, just talking to people and people coming out to the farm and, some of the other things, we sell some fence and stuff. People come out, what are you doing? What is this? And this, that, and other. And all of a sudden, oh, you sell beef? Well, we want beef. And, all of a sudden, they've been with you for 5 years, something like that. And so just word of mouth is huge, but, social media, and then our customers are great and they recommend a lot to other people.
That word of mouth's great. So we have someone that says, hey, I'm interested in beef. Mm-hmm. What's the next step?
Oh, yeah. Call us. Yeah. Call us. Yeah. And we'll put you on the list, or we'll, get you a cut sheet. We'll go through the cut sheet with you generally. And if we can't, the processor will go through it with them as well.
Yeah.
But generally we like to be on the phone and go through the cut sheet with the people and just kind of tell them. Most people don't, when they don't know what certain cuts are and stuff. They're just used to ribeyes and ground beef and
right. Yeah.
They're like, we want 200 ribeyes and the rest in ground beef. And it's like, well, it doesn't really work like that. But
so do you find when you're using that cut sheet, I assume you have kind of a standard cut sheet. Do most people go with the standard, or do you customize it almost for everyone?
I'll be honest. Most people are like, well, what would you do? That's what they say. They hit us, well, what would you do?
Yeah,
and,
because you're the expert on that, and they're maybe new to buying beef this way. So, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I tell them, like, well, it varies. I more so I try to cater it to, well, what do you want to do with it? Like, how do you cook? Because I don't want to give you like 15 different cuts that you don't know what to do with, and and they sit in your freezer, and then you're like, yeah, well, we got that beef from those guys, and we just don't know what to do with it. I'd rather you eat it all and say, like, man, that was great. We did this. The other thing we hear a lot of too is somebody will buy a half or a whole and they'll gift it to somebody, and then kind of that.
Yes,
I guess that's word of mouth, but word of flavor too, maybe. So
yeah, but a few years ago, I want to say like 15 years ago or something, we raise our own cattle. We slaughter our own beef. The local high school wrestling team was doing a giveaway for a half of a beef. And of course, I try and support them. So I bought a couple of tickets. I won. So yeah, we gave that meat away.
Yeah.
Like it was free to us. Our beef freeze pretty good. Here you all go.
I know. Well, we were actually we've been laughing for the last month. We've been out of ground beef and
that's
for ourselves.
That's a terrible problem.
Yeah. Like we're out. My wife's like, I don't know what we're going to do. And I was like, good thing we raised chickens. We're going to be eating a lot of chicken. So, but yeah, it's a good problem to have. So,
yeah. When you have someone and you've talked to them about their cut sheet, I know that's going to depend when you have animals to process, when they're going to go, because I'm assuming you're taking them to the processor when the animals are ready, not necessarily on your calendar. Do you find people prefer a really short turnaround, or does it make a difference that they contact you and wait a few months? How's that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've probably lost customers because we're really trying to not complicate our lives any more than they already are inside of, agriculture. And so primarily, I mean, we'll have groups that finish at the same time, but that was part of scaling back was, our land base is kind of changing and we didn't want our labor to get any greater.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a lot easier to have some that are like groups that are ready to go at the same time and then maybe storing some of that. But yeah, I think we've probably lost some people because when we first got into it, we were actually calving, spring and fall. And so we'd have things staggered.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it gets kind of that nutritional plane of finishing those animals when they're all in a different stage. Is
yes, it would be.
It becomes pretty inefficient, and you realize like it's a great idea. And there's a lot of people doing it with a lot of success and kudos to them. But just for us and what we were doing, it just didn't really fit what we were doing
for you. Yeah, which makes sense. So you take they've got the cut sheet, you get the animal ready, you take it to the processor. Is their next step? Obviously, they got to pay you at some point. And I got to go processor, pay the processor, and pick up the meat.
Yeah. So from it, honestly, it varies. We have some people that drive hours to come get it. And so sometimes, I mean, and those are repeats, like they've like stuck a check under a, like a rock or something.
Right.
Like it's pretty simple. Or sometimes, they'll, it just varies. And honestly, we're trying to go more into more of a QuickBooks invoice, send us a deal. But yeah, primarily, they'll come to us, but they're picking up the processor. I've been meeting them up there at the processor this last year, and just because, as I told you, we're new to using Oxbow, but we've been really happy with them. And so I want to make sure we have good communication across the board. So I'll go up there and help load the beef and just, kind of shake hands, that kind of stuff.
I think that's an excellent customer service move.
Yeah.
Just to help with that communication, build that relationship.
Yeah. Well, when they're only a couple miles away,
It makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So.
Well, Nathan, I really appreciate you coming on. Can you tell our listeners where they can find out more about what about what you're doing?
Yeah. If you want to follow us, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We've started some YouTube stuff and starting to talk a lot more about grazing and how we're doing that, and more on the total graze side of things. So stirring the pot there a little bit, but so we're online, and I guess that's the best way to find us probably.
Well, very good, Nathan. Really appreciate you sharing with us today.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Grazing Grass Podcast, where we bring you stories and insights into grass-based livestock production. If you're new here, we've got something just for you. Our new listener resource guide is packed with everything you need to get started on your listening journey with the Grazing Grass Podcast. Gives you more information about the podcast, about myself, and next steps. You can grab your free copy at grazinggrass.com/guide. Don't miss out. And hey, do you have a grazing story to share? We're always looking for passionate producers to feature on the show. Whether you're just starting out or have years of experience, your story matters. Head over to grazinggrass.com/guest to learn more and apply to be a guest. We'd love to share your journey with our growing community of grazers. Until next time, keep on grazing grass.